Hi, I'm joining you from the high school, so sorry about the bell in the background. I am very pleased to have the opportunity to welcome the very recently retired Chief Jason Rebholz with us today. He was just rang in from 23 years of service in our great Navy, which has included time on board the USS Constellation, the USNS Indomitable, the USS O'Bannon, the USS Carney, the USS Truxtun, the US and the USS Ramage, as well as time served at the U.S. Naval Academy and Commander Naval Surface Forces Atlanta, and a long list of decorations. I'm not going to take his time, but alas, the wisdom reaped from his long and incredible career no doubt will help us lay a stronger path for leadership for all of us today on the call. But it's his experience long before he donned our incredible uniform that will change you guys as chiefs as well. So on behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for joining us all the way from across the ocean today. Chief Rebholz, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much. Such a great introduction. I appreciate that. And it was 23 years, 5 months, and 11 days, but who's counting, right? But if you read my bio or had the chance to read it, it will tell you, of course, what I did in the Navy. But it doesn't talk much about what was very passionate to me, and that is the program of the Casualty Assistance Calls Officer. And if there's some PSs, YNs, or even chiefs who've been in long enough know or has come across it, you have done this duty or come across it some way. It affects a lot of people in the Navy, and it affected me when I was 6 years old. My brother passed away. He was in the Seabees. My father was in the Seabees as well, was a reservist for 27 plus years. And my brother, unfortunately, only had a year and a half before he died tragically in a freak accident. He was homeported in Gulfport, Mississippi, and he died on Easter Sunday, 1981. And it wasn't only until I was a first-class petty officer that I learned about the true role of a CACO. And it made me want to investigate my brother's life and understand what his final moments were, because I was only 6 years old. I remember his boot camp graduation. I was there for that. And, very few and fleeting memories of him. So that got me very interested. And when I found out that an E6 could take the course for CACO, but not stand it, I wanted to do it. But, duty section or duties, duty stations kind of got in the way, and CACO never really hit me until one of my own service members was shot fatally. He survived, but I had to take the role as temporary CACO to help his family transition, and he was labeled under a VSI. Now, I'm going to talk about a few different types of CACOs, and I want to try to quickly touch base on what their roles are. Now, a CACO through and through, all right, the person who is basically, he is taking on the responsibility of the service member that passed away to help his family transition to no longer having him. And it may seem a little brass, but a CACO continues to do his job for the families, for the service member's family that died, until the last penny is paid out. But there are many programs, the Gold Star program, that help families in need for their family members that passed away while serving. So you should know that the main CACO who helps the family is the person who does the notification. And there are many other roles that a CACO could fill, but you have to be qualified as a CACO to do the notification. Now, for me, when my service member, when my sailor in my division was shot fatally, I was placed as temporary CACO right off the bat. I didn't have to make a notification, so they just put me there as a temporary CACO, which I didn't have to go through the class for. I just needed to be there for its family, for any questions or anything like that. So it's important to know that you don't have to be qualified CACO, all right, to help the family, all right? You only have to be a qualified CACO to make the notification. So in terms of that, you have lots of different types of CACOs. You have a command CACO who doesn't do the notification, but is at the duty station where the sailor was to help take care of a lot of his things, his personal effects, all the paperwork that's involved, moving all of his personal property. And there's lots and lots of resources on this program. So if you get lost, don't worry about it. Everybody does. You may have even gone through the course and not even known it because it's a 2-day course. And that's how you qualify. And I've come across a lot of people who I've seen as qualified and say, hey, would you like to volunteer? Because it's a volunteer position to be a CACO. And this is when I served at ComNav Surfland. And they said, well, I've never even gone through the course. I'm like, yeah, you have. You just don't remember it. So you could have been qualified for 5 years, 10 years. But if you're qualified, you may have to don the role as a CACO. So keep that in mind because, like I said, there's only one time as a CACO that you would be on your own. It's one time. You can't ask anybody else to do it for you. You can't ask for help. But that is the time when you have to look a service member's primary next of kin in the eyes and say that on behalf of the United States Navy, we regret to inform you of the death of your son or daughter. That is the only time that you are by yourself in this role. Every other time, and that's going from the funeral visitation to the personal property effects, handling the service member's last pay, all that can be helped. All you have to do is raise your hand and ask the question, because I tell you what, you cannot memorize the amount of information that is involved in being a CACO. That is the one thing that being selects, you need to know that the mess is there for you. You cannot do this job without the support of the people around you. You have to raise your hand. Many of CACO have failed at their job because they made a decision not knowing what they were sure to do, and all they had to do was reach back with a phone call. So nothing besides that notification is pressing. So the people who are qualified, who can go through the course, are typically E6 and above, but you cannot be to do a notification unless you are a chief petty officer. And if you are a junior officer, you need to know this for your division officers that you'll soon lead, is that you need to know that your division officers have to have time in service. Now, I from what I remember, it was 4 to 6 years, okay? But I believe it's 4 years. Any officer can serve as a CACO, but they have to have at least 4 years time in service, all right, to be a CACO, to serve the role as CACO. But I said, like before, PSs and YNs might know this role a lot more intimately, even gone through the course, because as a third class, second class, you may have to do all what pertains to a lot of this when it comes to the service members' paperwork. So the paperwork involved is what happens when a service member dies right off the bat, okay? And you're going to find that this information is key to not just being a CACO, but being a leader in front of your sailors. And that is when it comes time for your command to verify page 2s and SGLI information, this is absolutely one of the most important keys of information that when a service member dies, the notifying CACO has got to have correct. And they can't go off of old information. And so when your command comes along and says, let's verify page 2s and SGLIs. This is just not a paper trail thing. You have got to take that serious for your sailors because it involves everything that I'm talking about. And a time will come where it's going to be too late. We should have updated that page 2, that SGLI, but at that point, the service member has already died, and it becomes very, very inefficient and ineffective for the sailors and their families to reconcile sometimes. So you got to take that into effect. And not one CACO case is cookie cutter. There are multiple different ways in which a case comes about. I have not done a notification, unfortunately. And I say that because I feel like to myself, and I hate to say unfortunately, but I haven't had the honor to do a notification because I feel like I've had to pay it forward. But I've tried to use my time in the Navy to pay it forward. For instance, when I talked about when I served at Comnas Surfland, I took over the program of CACO and making sure all the watch bills were done, making sure that a lot of people were trained up. And I will tell you this about the training for CACO. 99.9% of all the people that go through the course will never make a notification. That's why they push so many people through it, because at any moment, somebody can be a CACO. So realize that going through the course is important, but realize that a lot of times you will not be in an area where you'll need to do a notification. So I've done escort duties that I volunteered for, and I was the command CACO for one of my sailors who died of accidental overdose. And unfortunately, he was with his family. And the notification, although still had to be done, and necessarily didn't need to be done because he was with his family members when it happened. But the role of doing a notification still had to take place. So remember, when a service member dies, the next 24 hours are the most important and crucial, because the thing that the command has to do is what's called a personal casualty report. So you need to be aware that when they do a personal casualty report, that you need to ensure that the SGLI is done and the page 2 is updated. And then when the personal casualty, you take that information, you put it into a personal casualty report. And then I say you, and what I mean is the command, all right? But you as the CACO, if you've been tasked to do the role as CACO, you have to contact the command and ensure that the personal casualty report was done. And a personal casualty report is nothing more than a sit rep. It is a sit rep, but for the death of a service member, okay? So, like I said, the SGLI and page 2 for your sailors is crucial when it comes to this, okay? Once that PCR is done, then the CACO goes to the primary next of kins and does the notification. Now, there's going to be a lot of people involved in this. The command representative who's playing the CACO for that sailor is also very much tied with this, okay? So remember that CACO is not just the person who does notification. It is the command rep. And in terms of a serious injury or very serious injury, those are two other types of instances where they use a CACO. Those CACOs could be used as well. And like I said, your role there is for the family. So when you're doing the role of a CACO, you need to take mind that this is the sailor's last duty to a family in need to reconcile with their lost family member. So take that to heart. And in lieu of the pandemic, there's one thing that you guys need to realize is how has this affected the Navy and the role or the potential role as a CACO. or what you could be, how could you be affected in the role of a CACO with this last pandemic that has probably rocked a lot of your guys' commands with serious injuries, probably. This is something that I wanted you guys to kind of think about how this might affect you, and if Tim, if this is a chance for them to speak up, I mean, I feel free. This would be a good time to discuss this.
I hate to say it, but I believe, unfortunately, we've run out of time for this course.
Okay.
So feel free to close out however you like.
Well, like I said, look, guys, congratulations. You guys have made it to a point that a lot of people would love to take your place. So take that to heart. Okay. There's a lot of people that want to be in your feet right now. All right. So be mindful of that. All right. But also be mindful of what I talked about, being there for your sailors, ensuring that what they do is imperative. So when they have to do these admin drills that you want to call admin drills, they're there for a reason. All right. When it comes to CACO, I've always preached to it. This is what you guys can control for your sailors. All right. This is the things that you can make sure that they understand why page 2 and SGLI are important. So take heart of that. Congratulations on your selection, and all the way from Dubai. You guys have a great day. Okay.
Thanks very much, Jason. Appreciate it.